Hey, how about it, race fans? Richard Allen of InsideDirtRacing.com here, coming at you with another video version of the Rich's Rambling. So I appreciate you taking the time to give it a listen. Also hope that you are checking out the content we put on InsideDirtRacing.com and also on InsideCircleTrack.com if you follow NASCAR and pavement racing. And we appreciate the fact that you do that. Our hit numbers show us that you are. So we're thankful to you for that. But let's go ahead and talk about the topic I want to address today, and it's a topic that is not near and dear to my heart, and that is the topic of rainouts. And unfortunately, here in East Tennessee and in this region, we're going through a time where we're experiencing quite a few of them. As a matter of fact, over the last few weeks here, just in the month of March alone, the East Tennessee region or this area has lost two separate World of Outlaw Case Construction Late Model Series weekends. That series was supposed to be at the Smoky Mountain Speedway back about 3 weeks ago, and unfortunately, rain and bad weather conditions canceled that. And then there was an attempt to move one of those Smoky Mountain races in front of the weekend slated for Boyd Speedway down in Ringgold, Georgia, and unfortunately, rain claimed that whole weekend too. So it's always difficult, always frustrating, especially when an entire weekend gets wiped out, but one or maybe even two of the days actually had weather fit for racing, but because there couldn't be racing for the entire weekend, series or the tracks or whoever makes those kind of decisions had decided not to have them. And that's a little bit aggravating when you can look out the window and see a blue sky, but you're not at a racetrack. So tough time here. And I said we lost two World of Outlaw weekends. This coming weekend was supposed to be the biggest race in Tennessee racing history, on dirt at least. We're supposed to have a $100,000 to win XR Super Series race at the Volunteer Speedway up in Bulls Gap, Tennessee. And unfortunately, that one has been reset. At least it will be run at a later date, rather than just being completely wiped out altogether. But still, again, another aggravating situation where had the anticipation of going to see a big race, and that big race isn't happening. So what to do about rainouts is the thing. Obviously, you can't change the weather. The weather's going to do what it wants to do, and we can't do anything about that. But instead of just complain, I like to try and, when I can, offer up some sort of an idea anyway. Who knows if this is a good idea or not? It sounds good in my head, but that may not make it a good one when the rubber actually meets the road. So we'll see. But I've thought about one reason why races, when they get rained out, why they can't just simply be postponed and run at a later time. They wind up just getting canceled altogether, which is very aggravating for fans and media and competitors, for that matter, who had planned to go to a particular track for a race that they thought would be a good one for them to go to, but they can't go at all because it just gets canceled. I think one reason for that is because there are so many races on the schedule. The two main national touring series, the World of Outlaws Late Model Series and the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series. I mean, once they get going into the season, once they come out of Georgia, Florida Speed Weeks and take a couple weeks off after that, their schedule's pretty much booked solid. And so I wondered, would it be possible for those two series, along with the XR Super Series and the Castrol Flow Racing Night in America Series, and this would require some cooperation on their parts, but what if they ran fewer race weekends, but the races they did run had bigger purses? So it would be worth it for the competitors to go because the purse is bigger, but in running fewer races, you would have more open dates on the calendar, so that if a race, say a Smoky Mountain or a Boyd's, gets rained out on one particular weekend, maybe there would be sometime 2, 3, 4 weeks later where that race could be run, and fans wouldn't feel the frustration, the aggravation. The competitors who were looking for it, who maybe only race regionally, for example, might still be able to make that race when it gets canceled, of course, it's just gone. It's just lost for good. So what if you ran, say, each of the two national series maybe only ran races that pay 20 or 25,000 to win, but they ran fewer of them. Instead of having a calendar filled with 55, 60, 65 races, instead have 40, and with some open spots on the calendar. Now, here's where the cooperation have to come in. Unfortunately, what would probably happen when these series leave open spots would be some other series or some track would come in with an unsanctioned race that maybe pays a pretty good purse and try and grab up that date that was left abandoned. So then there really wouldn't be the option of rescheduling because there would be something else on the schedule for one of the other series or just a tracks race that they're going to pay a big purse for. So that would be tough, and to get the four series together and have them to agree to follow those guidelines might be difficult. I don't know. I've never led a negotiation between four series and all that. But if there were fewer races that paid bigger purses, the amount of money over the course of the season would wind up being the same, but there would be more open dates on the schedule to make up for lost events because of weather, especially these here in the early spring when you get so many rainouts or the temperatures are going to be too cold or something like that happen. Now, some people might say that if you're going to do that, there are some tracks who just can't afford that. There are some tracks that can't put on a 25,000 to win race every year. Well, maybe the series could work with 3 or 4 or 5 of those tracks and work out a situation where they rotate. Maybe every other year come to one, or every third year go to one of those tracks. So that would give that track time to prepare itself to have such a big race that otherwise maybe they might not be able to afford. So anyway, that's just a thought. It would require, as I said, it would require a lot of agreement and a lot of promises not to grab up dates that might be left open or whatever. But it seems to me that anything is preferable over just totally losing a race because of weather, because of temperatures, because of rain, whatever might happen. So anyway, those are just my thoughts. I do not handle rainouts very well. Get a little aggravated. Kind of actually got into it on Twitter one time with a meteorologist who predicted rain and caused tracks to call off, and then it never did rain, which highly aggravated me. But anyway, so I would just like there to be a situation where we don't lose so many races when you don't look at a series schedule and just see the words rain out, rain out, rain out. I looked at one of the series schedules last night. There's been 6 consecutive dates rained out. Lucas Oil Series is going to go over 2 months before they have a race. They ended up at East Bay back in February, and they are not going to race again until almost late April because they had their races at Atomic and Brownstown rained out. The World of Outlaws in kind of a similar situation where they're going to go about a month and a half without racing. So, that's tough. It's tough on fans. It's tough on competitors, because everybody wants to see a race. Everybody gets all excited and kind of jacked up over the racing when they watch or go to Georgia and Florida in the early part of the year, and then all of a sudden it just stops. It's like a second off season, and that's made even worse when you start getting rainouts, and they're bound to happen in March. That stuff like that's going to happen. But anyway, those are my thoughts. I'm Richard Allen, InsideDirtRacing.com and InsideCircleTrack.com. Again, we appreciate you taking the time to look at those 2 websites and hope that you'll continue to do that. But until later, I will see you at the track.